Hello, it's Project Management Demystified, episode 4 of our climate impact reduction project or change. So, in this episode, let's talk about, we covered challenges. Let's talk about, as all those challenges are going on, as I said in episode 3, we will be documenting some things. So we'll be documenting what we want to achieve as a project. We'll be documenting baselines or benchmark. Do we have money assigned to the project yet? So the project management professional, whether it's project manager or business analyst or program manager, or whoever it is, will be reaching out to putting papers together to reach out to the right teams that would approve funding for the project. But in some organizations, depending on the stage the project is at, so that might already have been approved before, and the project has just been stood up. So let's imagine, even for a second, that it's an organization that deals with fossil fuels, that drill oil, an oil company. The resistance will be way more compared to if it's just an organization that does other things, that their main activity is not carbon related. So if you say it's an oil company that sells oil, drills oil, and you want to change it, that's a massive shift. So it will be way more challenging because there's a lot of infrastructure that has been built into that industry, into that system. And maybe the organization now wants to go into wind farming or solar. So that would be a way more different and massive project compared to just an organization that wants to reduce their carbon footprint. So I was talking about funding. Some of the departments that will release the funding, it's possible that there will be a stakeholder in that as well. So how do you manage their expectation in terms of what we want to do and separating that from approving funding for that? Because you will be competing, even though it's a climate change, is a climate change impact reduction, you'll be competing with other investments as well, other initiatives that the organization wants. Organizations want their customers to have better customer experience. So climate change is a good thing, but you will be competing. Some organizations might actually have different pots to say things that are not that will not compete. So things that are purpose driven, that might not compete with other things that the organization is trying to achieve. So one of the key things that might be happening at this stage is aligning stakeholder interests. So some departments might want the climate impact reduction more than some other departments. How do you bring those two units or stakeholders or stakeholder groups together to get consensus? You could also be dealing with external stakeholders or government organizations or non-government organizations. So a lot of these things I'm saying, they might not sound like project management, but they are, because it's about bringing people together to achieve a goal. So we're on a journey as we are. We're on a journey. We're bringing people together, getting people's thoughts, having conversations. And then we're documenting things. Some of them might require approvals or sign off. So say, for instance, we've established that 10 departments, this is the carbon that they use. We can kind of approve that or agree that that's where we are in terms of baseline or benchmark, and just keep that on one side and start working on the other departments. Some other people can be working to start, for those departments that are ready, to start looking at how carbon footprint can be reduced in those areas. So I use the print as an example. So we started putting, we might start putting together a plan, a project plan for that. So put the departments, put where the departments are, put when we will get to each of the departments in terms of deep dive analysis of what needs to be done. What are some of the low-hanging fruits or areas that we can improve their processes? And we could also be looking at climate change impact reduction, reducing expenses or reducing costs in some departments. So say for instance you're sending letters. Let's say letters cost, I don't know how much they cost. Let's say letters cost £1 to send one letter. You send 5 million letters in a year. That's £5 million. But if you can reduce that, and the reason you're reducing it is because you want to reduce the paper you're using to print. If you can reduce that and send in mobile app, for instance. So we're reducing our footprints, but we're also saving a lot of money. So if you now save 5 million customers have now reduced to maybe 1 million customers that maybe they are vulnerable customers and they still want to get their letters physical. So you've saved the organization 4 million. It's early stages to start saying that. Now I just wanted to use that to maybe I'll say whet your appetite, just to know that sometimes these initiatives eventually tend to be bigger than what we expect, or even more beneficial than it might set out to be at the start. I'll leave you there for today, and then I'll see you on the other side. Cheers. Bye bye.